Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today? My name is Matt. I'm going to be guiding you through today's VAT webinar of the VAT Proficiency Badge Series 2025. And today we're going to be looking at simplifying corrections and correcting VAT transactions. Superb. This is the final webinar in the series before the quiz, which is tomorrow. 2 instances of the quizzes. We'll go through those later on though, and when they're going to be. If you haven't already registered, sage.co.uk/webinars. Guess what? They're all going to be there, but I'll cover that at the end of the webinar for you. Today is simply about simplifying your corrections on your VAT transactions. But housekeeping first, so your microphone is automatically muted, so don't worry if you need a cough or sneeze, anything like that at all. You are not going to interrupt me at all. I'm just going to be carrying on with the webinar. Nobody else will hear you. Now, the handout is attached, so please download that. There's 2 versions, full colour and black and white. If you're like me and you like to print off the black and white one so you can make notes, super duper. But they both contain the same links to the Help Centre articles and other resources that you may want and need in order to help you in the future when you are looking at correcting any transaction on a VAT return, reconciled or not. We have Michael in attendance today to answer all the questions VAT related. He will prioritise questions about the subject matter first. Any other questions will be answered after via email. So the priority is going to be all on VAT correcting transactions. Excellent, spot on. So other than that then, what are we going to be covering today? Well. The agenda is in front of you. We're going to be editing the transaction. We're going to be looking at deleting transactions, the effect that that has on reconciled and unreconciled on VAT. Remember, VAT is the subject matter here, not standard transactions in general. We've got a separate webinar on that. We're going to have a brief discussion, a chat about the VAT journals, and then we're going to have a look at some manual adjustments, the mechanics of it, and some top tips of how to do it correctly, essentially. And don't worry, if you do need to leave before the end, just had a notification there. You will be sent a copy of the webinar via email an hour afterwards, and also you've got the handouts to download as well. So have no fear. Life sometimes does get in the way, so don't worry about that whatsoever. And then afterwards, we'll have a recap of the questions. Quite a lot of you in attendance today, as there has been throughout the series that we've been running. So do fire your questions in. We're also joined by Abby as well. So Abby and Michael will be at hand. Any questions at any point, fire them in. They'll be more than happy to help you with that. So first things first, editing a transaction. Let's have a talk about that then. So there's 2 things that we want to consider. Firstly, when we're editing a transaction, because we're making a change to it, aren't we? Hence editing. And that is if we're going to be editing a critical or a non-critical field. A critical field, when amended, requires the original transaction to be cancelled and a new one posted. Okay. Now, what that basically means is the transaction that you've originally keyed, what you're about to change has had a knock-on effect to other values within the program itself, i.e. the VAT return and submission to HMRC or Ross. So a critical field could be a customer. And the reason that's critical in this instance is because how's it affected them within their VAT profile? The nominal account, the bank account, the date. Is it going to be inside or outside a VAT return that's already been done? Sage needs to recalculate this. Therefore, it is a critical field. So the original transaction will be cancelled and a new one posted. Same with the net VAT amount and the tax code. Non-critical fields, a lot easier. So these are amendments that basically you can make, and all it's going to do is update that little transaction. It's not going to have a knock-on effect anywhere else. So transaction reference, details, department, as you can see in front of you, payment reference, and even the bank reconciliation flag. Because it's got no knock-on effect at all elsewhere, so nothing else needs to change other than that individual transaction itself. Now again, transactions details, deleted or cancel, we have an actual help guide for it. Download the handout, click on that link, I'll take you straight there. What we're going to look at first though is editing the transaction non-reconciled. So if you're editing a non-critical field, the amendment is made to the transaction with no other impact, like I've just explained there. If you're editing in the critical field in non-reconciled, then again, the original transaction is corrected and a new one is posted in its place, matching everything apart from what you've just edited. Hopefully that makes sense. The transaction marked as deleted, as you can see in the screenshot here, refers you back to the original transaction that has been amended. Although it sounds confusing, hopefully I've explained that nice and clearly, non-reconciled, you're only sorting something out that's still held within the program. So there's no need for it to go anywhere else. Let's have a look at what that looks like. So, just like Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. VAT Corrections is the company I'm working in. I'm using minimal data just for transparency so you can see what's going on. Just to give you a whistle-stop tour of the data that I'm using, some bank receipts, sales invoices there, the dates here, which are applicable to, and you can see the most important thing for the sake of this demonstration is this column here, VAT, and that is VAT reconciled, VAT reconciled. N for no, R for reconciled. Nice and simple. It'll even reference here the number of the VAT return, if it has been reconciled, that it is on. So R return, and that's on VAT 1. VAT 1 again, that is because I've only done one VAT return. Okay. So it's all VAT rec for you there. Now, when it comes to editing a transaction, we did say we're going to look at non-reconciled first. So let's just pick on number 1, shall we? The bank receipt here. 2 ways, both roads lead to Rome. So you can click on edit at the top here, and it'll open up the edit screen. Or you can right click, edit. Same outcome, no difference. Now, what I'm going to do here is I want to edit the details of this. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a non-critical field amendment to an VAT reconciled transaction. Sounds a bit wordy, that, doesn't it? But essentially, it's not reconciled and it's not going to change the transaction. So I'll open up the transaction, I'll click edit to get to the field I want to edit. In the details here, I'm just going to put C change, and that's for you guys who are watching. So then I'll close, click save. Yes, I want to post the changes. Nothing has changed. No deletions, no cancellations, nothing. We're still on transaction number 6, and you can see the details have been updated there, C change. If I wanted to change that back, quite easily, it's a non-critical field. Again, I'd look for the field I wish to edit. It's hidden under the edit screen there, and I will delete that. Gone. Close, save. Do I wish to post these changes? Yes, I do. Happy days. There we are. No issue. So unreconciled transactions, quite easy. Now we've also got an unreconciled bank receipt here for £200. The tax is £40 altogether. This time I'm going to change a critical field that we talked about at the first. So let me say I want to edit this, and it's the date I want to edit. So I will edit. That's about my financial year. But I want to be editing the date. And as you can see, the date itself is 18th of June, today's date. But I want to say that was actually for July. Click save. Again, outside my financial year. They are the changes I wish to make. Do I wish to post them? Yes. And look what's happened there. So this may be a bit confusing, but this is the original transaction. You can see, because that was the 18th of June. But what's replaced it, where it lived, is the 18th of July. Is now the correct details. So the incorrect information is now at the bottom of my transaction list. It's number 7. cancelled, see transaction 2. So this was incorrect, and it's been replaced by what is correct. And the reference is there just to guide you to it. That's unreconciled, pretty easy. Makes it easy, that one. Now, when it comes to reconciled, we're a bit different, because if you reconcile something, you've basically accounted for it for your VAT, potentially submitted it across. So if you're going to make changes to this now, it's not as easy as just deleting it, because you're affecting the VAT return that you've reconciled, aren't you? So wherever that has been sent, be HMRC or ROS, they'll need to be notified. Sage has made this as easy as possible as it can for you. The same rules apply. However, if it has been reconciled, it will be updated on your next VAT return. So it will be taken in account for. And I think the best thing for me to do is to show you that live, essentially. So let's go back to the data here. If we're editing, again, a non-critical field on a reconciled transaction, I'm going to go for this bank receipt here, okay? If we edit that, again, with the details of what we want to be editing, guess what? It's going to have no effect. I'll quickly show you that now, just for proof is in the pudding, as it were. So, see change. Close, save, yes. There you are. Again, nothing else has been posted whatsoever. I can easily change that back, right-click edit, and then that will disappear. Gone. So again, just for the sake of the demonstration there, nothing's going to be changing. However, if editing a critical field, the opposite would have to be posted. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this SI. So if a critical field, for example, is going to be changed, the original transaction is going to have to be reversed. In this case, because we're editing it, we're not deleting it, we are editing it, it still needs to exist, just the detail has changed. So a sales credit in SC will be posted. Let's have a look. So again, right click, edit. Again, that's my financial year because I haven't run it yet. And you get to the stage of which you want to edit. Oh, my program has disappeared there, apologies. So let's just say this is actually meant to be £100 and the VAT is 20. Nice and easy, just for the sake of the demonstration. Click close, click save. Do you wish to post these changes? Yes. And see what's happened here is we have now had counter transactions processed. So it's been cancelled here. The sales credit has been posted for the original to cancel off the original, and the new SI has been posted. 120 there. So it's reversed the original, just the opposite has been posted, and then next one, the new one has been issued. And that was on the reconciled. So your VAT return will identify the new transactions and the reversals as earlier unreconciled transactions when you go to run your next VAT return. So let me demonstrate that. Now I'm going to run the VAT return for June, again, just for the demonstration. As you can see, I've selected the date. I did the first webinar in this series on Monday, which was how to prepare and reconcile your VAT return. So I'm just going to whistle stop tour this part. Do the backup, as always. Select the dates that you want, calculate the VAT return, and what's going to pop up here is the changes that we've made. So that reconciled transaction that we reversed you can see there's the sales credit, and there is the new sales invoice. So we are notifying the receiver of this return that we've credited this off and it is being replaced by this. And it is notifying us saying that these are now unreconciled transactions because, as I'm sure you've guessed, we haven't reconciled that transaction yet because it's technically new, isn't it? Because we replaced the old one. So what we would do is we would include those onto the new VAT return, and then we could have a little bit of a drill down into the boxes to see where it's going to affect. And you can drill down again. We went through this in one of the earlier webinars, is to see what's affected what there. And you can see transaction number 9 is the one that we've just replaced and reversed, and the amount is £20. So all the information is going to be on the VAT return. And if you do have to edit something from a previous VAT return, Sage will automatically recommend the transaction in which it needs to be reversed with, so posting the opposite, and then it will automatically pick it up when you go to run your VAT return again. Hopefully that makes sense. So remember, if we go back, calculate the VAT return, you'll see the 2 transactions there. Nice and easy. If you get, just an FYI, top tip here, if you do get a question here, a long list here, what you might want to do is send it to Excel and do some investigation outside of the VAT return. We talked about that during the submission. Simply click Excel. An Excel spreadsheet will open with all the transaction numbers on there. Take it away, do some investigation into what exactly all these figures mean, edit the transactions, delete them, do what you need to do. Then when you rerun your VAT return, all that's left in here should be stuff that you're going to include. Simple as that. You should always look to that. But I'm going to exit out of this VAT return because we've got more to cover before we finalize it. And the next thing that we're going to be covering is deleting transactions. So deleting a transaction is obviously a wee bit different because when it comes to editing a transaction, you still want it to be stuck around, don't you? You're just putting some of the details that are a bit different to what was originally posted. However, deleting a transaction is basically saying this shouldn't have happened, or I'm not wanting this to have happened. So deleting transactions, if the transaction is not VAT reconciled, then the transaction can be deleted, gone, because again, it's had no knock-on effect with anything else. So if you're deleting something completely unrelated to a VAT return, it's had no effect on it, it's just going to disappear. It's like it never happened. And it'll not be picked up by the VAT return for that reason. Deleting a reconciled transaction, however, can't technically be deleted. When you click delete, what you're actually asking Sage to do is reverse the transaction. So again, if you've posted an SI, it would be the SC, you're crediting it off, if that makes sense. Because what you've got to do is, if you imagine you've got scales in front of you and you've got a 10-gram weight on the left, in order to delete it, you'd have to have a 10-gram weight on the right. That would balance it out. So just as a visual for that is what I would say. But let's demo it so I can show you exactly how it would work. And keep your questions coming in. I can see that you're keeping the guys busy here. Always good. So let us look at deletion then, shall we? Straight into the demo. There we go. Happy days. Sorry, my program is just being a bit slow today. I think it knows it's midweek and it's wanting a bit of a rest. I think my internet isn't performing as it should do. So we've got a non-reconciled SI here. If I was just to delete, it would disappear. Gone. Because there's no impact on anything whatsoever. So delete. Do I wish to delete the transaction? Yes, gone. See, there's no reversals, nothing whatsoever. It's just into non-existence again. But just like the SI here, when I edited it, this time if I was to delete this SI, a reconciled sales invoice, it would post the sales credit of the equal amount onto the next VAT return. So again, it's just not playing. My system is frozen a wee bit. If you bear with me a quick second, don't know if you can still see what I can see. Going to quickly switch back to my slides. I will be with you momentarily here. There we are. I think that should be back there. Apologies for that. So essentially, if you're deleting something that has been reconciled, so let's delete this bank receipt here. We are reversing. Do you wish to reverse the transaction? Yes, we do wish to reverse this transaction. Once we've clicked yes, you'll see here it's posted a bank payment for the bank receipt. It tells us to see transaction 3, which is this one here, and it's posted the opposite. Now, when we go to run the VAT return, and we do calculate VAT, we now have 3 transactions populating this box. So the sales credit and the sales invoice from before, and now we have the bank payment, the correction. So now we are notifying the receiver of the VAT return. We posted a bank receipt on the last one in error, apologies. We're counterbalancing it. This is the equal measure of it. So there we are. I'm going to include these. And again, you'll be able to see in the boxes the effect that it has had. We now have a negative figure because of the balances that I've typed in. And again, you can drill down into these boxes and it'll give you the full breakdown of what has been input. There's the sales credit from the invoice before. Hopefully that makes sense. So in essence, deleting your transactions when they're reconciled, next time the VAT return is generated after deleting a previously VAT reconciled transaction, the reversal transaction will show as an earlier unreconciled transaction, as shown there. And that is because Sage is treating it like a new transaction that you've input. So that will be included in the next VAT return to report the correction to any new transactions to the receiver of the VAT return itself. This is all in connection with standard VAT. We don't really go into demos for the VAT cash accounting because it's very kind of niche, but we do have in the handout a slide on that and the effect of it. So deleting transactions with VAT cash accounting, VAT cash accounting. I always get lost between the two there. So if you do have VAT cash accounting business, download the handout. There's also help guides on you for you there. For you to click through, let's have a quick look here. A question just come in from Alex, which is, can transaction errors be corrected on future returns, or is this old limit still in place where you need to do a separate declaration to HMRC? I'd have to check that one out, Alex. So essentially, if you have, in terms, I'll double check this answer for you, but if you do correct an error on a VAT, on a reconciled VAT return, it will automatically in Sage be posted to your next VAT return, if that's what you mean. So it wouldn't be a separate declaration, it would be followed up on the next VAT return you've done. So if you've done, let's just say, 3 transactions incorrectly for VAT period 1, you correct them, the corrections will be on VAT period 2, and that's when you're notifying HMRC or Ross about the changes itself. Hopefully that's explained that to you. If that's what you mean, in fact, Alex, if you just qualify for me, that'd be wonderful. Just going to quick check through the questions now as well before we go through the journals. Okay. So Paula asked a question about the date that I'm using. So the deletion and the repost at today's date, both new transactions that have been demonstrated. Now I'm just obviously just demonstrating this today. You would be more accurate with your date keeping of to what VAT period you wanted that transaction to be included in. In this demonstration, I've done a VAT return for May and I'm about to generate one for June. And because we are all physically live in June at the moment, I haven't changed the dates whatsoever. So that's why I've maintained that date. Okay, I think the guys are pretty much on top of the other questions there that are coming in. Some of the questions, good one from Heather there saying that she can't see other people's questions. Some questions that are answered privately because they may have information just pertaining to a person's business, so we don't answer them publicly. The ones that we can answer publicly tend to be the ones we find that will be more beneficial for everybody and obviously don't have any personal or private data in or company information. If I'm answering a question out loud, then it will not be answered because I'm not answering in writing. There we are. Spot on. So Alex says that you used to have to do a separate declaration to HMRC. That was not correct return when an error was over a certain value. Again, I would confirm that with HMRC. I wouldn't know that personally myself. One of the guys, Michael, may know that one if he can. But offhand, I don't want to give you any incorrect information, so I wouldn't specifically know. I just know that if you make an error within the Sage program and you edit it that way, then it will be apparent on the next VAT return. I don't know if there's a value threshold, if I'm going to be honest with you. Excellent. While the questions are still coming in, I will try and pick up as many as I can. Let's have a brief chat about the VAT journal. So sometimes, I've covered this in the top 5 questions that we went through and we had a bit of a chat about it. I'm just going to have the same chat again, essentially, if you weren't at that webinar. If you were at that webinar, then you just reconfirmation of the information. So VAT journals. Now you can't post journals to impact the VAT return, but obviously you have to be using a code that is going to affect the VAT return, i.e. a T1. Journals traditionally use T9 to post, therefore they will not be picked up by the VAT return. If you are wanting to affect the VAT return for a specific scenario, i.e. a sale of asset, then you would use a tax code that will be picked up by the VAT return itself. Now the journal has to be posted to the purchase tax or sales tax control accounts and it will show as a VAT value. If any other nominal code is used, then it will show as net values. And there's a big, bold statement at the bottom of that slide there says, we recommend speaking to your accountant if you wish to use your journals to amend the figures on your VAT return. Superb. So let's have a look at an example. And I did hint at it there, sale of an asset. So what I've got in front of you is what a journal would look like during the sale of an asset. And what we're going to be saying here is pointing to the fact that there is multiple parts to this journal, 7 parts in fact, but only 2 of them are going to impact the VAT return. Now the eagle-eyed amongst you may have already spotted which 2 they are going to be because I suggested it on the previous slide, but they are there at the bottom. So we've got sale of assets and tax control account, nominal code 4,200 and 2,200. Your sale of assets is T1. In this instance, it's a credit of £8,333.33. The VAT amount of your tax control account, again, is T1, and the VAT amount at 20% is £1,666.67. This is directly from our help guide, so you'll see the same thing on our help center. So essentially, the VAT element of the sale has been posted to the sales tax control account, therefore will be picked up as VAT on the VAT return. The net element has not used the control account, so we picked up the net boxes of the VAT return. And this is how it would look in the UK. So as a result, you can see the VAT amount of the journal of the sale of that asset, let's say it was a car, has been posted to box 1, £1,666.67. And then it is represented in boxes 3 and 5 as well, because it's the total and the net. But it's entered into box 1 automatically. And the actual figure itself is posted into box 6, so the net figure of 8333.33. So if you do need to post a journal that does indeed affect the VAT return, then you have to make sure that it is going to affect the VAT return by using a tax code that is applicable. T9 won't do it because the VAT return won't pick it up. Again, can be a unique set of circumstances this for you to use, but if ever it comes across, we've got you covered for it. Excellent. Some information coming through on the threshold amount. I'll have to get that verified first off, but thank you very much for pointing me in that direction, guys. That's why I do like this community, because we're always helping each other out. But Alison and Susan, thank you very much indeed for sharing that information with me. I'm going to have a look at that after this. Great to know that kind of stuff moving forward. So thank you very much indeed. Your Republic of Ireland VAT journal, ROI, this is how the boxes would be affected, because obviously it does look rather different, more boxes in ROI than there is in the UK version of the programme. You've got your rounded up figure of 16667 right at the top there, affecting all the boxes going down. So again, minimal kind of differences between the two aspects of the programme. The next thing I wanted to go through would be the manual adjustments section. So when you calculate your VAT return, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you could be notified that you need to make an adjustment to that. And you can do that within the program. I think, again, covered this in the first two webinars. So for example, if there has been a miscalculation or an error, HMRC have been in touch in this example to say that you need to make that adjustment and it needs to be available for your next VAT return. How do you do it? First things first, you want to make sure that all details are present and correct. So if you received an email and they're saying, like, you need to make an adjustment to your VAT return of, say, £100, then you would access that VAT return, the one that you're running, and you see this box here where it says make adjustments. Quite simply, you would tick that. It would open the manual adjustments box right in front of you here. And now let's just say they want us to adjust it by plus £100 in box 1. How would we do that? Quite easy. Click on the pen. When you click on the pen, it brings up this box here, which is a VAT manual adjustments box. And I'm going to call this HMRC instruction. And the adjustment was plus 100. However, if it was a negative figure, you could just use your minus. Again, nice and easy. Just use your minus. But £100 is going to be the adjustment figure all in all. What I would then do is I would click save. Once it is saved, you'll see that the adjustment is visible for me there, and it tells me what boxes it affects. We can't adjust boxes 3 and 5 in adjustments. That's because they're totals or value boxes. So they're just an accumulation of the figures. Alison brought up a very good question there again, thank you, which was I have to make a certain type of adjustment for a fuel scale charge, but I've got nothing to attach. Is this a problem? No, it's not a problem, Alison. And that's a really good question, because the attachments themselves aren't for the VAT return receiver for ROS or HMRC. The attachments are for you and your records. So if you were ever to dig through your VAT returns and you could see adjustments that have been made, you could view these attachments to see the reason why, as well as the description there. So in your example there, if I may use it, you may type in to here, make adjustments, whichever boxes that you're going to be entering it into, you may type in here the reason for doing it, which would be fuel scale charge. Then your attachment, you might not have one, because again, it's for your records. But if you did have an email or a photocopy or a scan of a letter from HMRC, it's where you could add your attachment here. So it's not an issue. They have nothing to attach whatsoever. As long as you're happy. Remember, it's an audit trail, so as long as you're clear on the audit trail. So once we've done that, we can see any adjustments that have been made again by drilling down into certain boxes. My program is not opening up as it should do, so apologies, I can't show you that. But the adjustments will be visible. And then what you'll do once you're happy with all your figures, you would click Reconcile VAT Return. This is obviously once you're completely happy with everything that you've done, happy with all your figures, you would then reconcile. Now, if you are doing your reconciliation now, but you don't have the attachments at hand, for whatever reason, you can add the attachments later on in the next window when you go to complete your VAT return. So your manual adjustments basically is you're using that pen, that edit icon in the adjustment column in order to make it. And then once we go back to the program and click reconcile, because we're happy with everything, it will say, we've noticed that you've made an adjustment, but you haven't attached any supporting documents. Do you want to do that now? This is the first opportunity you get to do it. I'm going to click no. Flag transactions as VAT reconciled again. Remember, we have 3 transactions that we picked up because we made an edit and a deletion. So on one of the transactions, the bank payment, we are notifying HMRC or ROS, this was incorrect, but there's no replacement. So we're fine with that. On the other 2, we were making an adjustment to an SI, so a partial sales credit was made and a new SI was created. And because that is in the date range of the VAT return that we're running, it's not going to appear in that box because it's not from a previous period. So do we wish to continue? Yes. We'll wait for this to reconcile. And there we have it. In this screen here, your final screen of your VAT return, you can view your adjustments again. There they are. And you can also add your attachments. And at any point, you can go back and add those attachments. So VAT return here that I ran, like Blue Peter, this one I made earlier for May, I can go back in and add my attachments there as well. So I have no fear about the attachments. It's just an additional if you want to add them all together. So key things to remember then, in summary, is on standard VAT, when corrections are made, reversals are posted where any corrections are required on the VAT return. Sage will make a recommendation on what the reversal should be. With VAT cash accounting, manual reversal of transactions may be required. So Sage won't automatically take care of that for you. You'll have to look into that. Again, we've got guides on how you would do that. Reversals and corrected transactions must be picked up as early as reconciled transactions to report the changes to HMRC or the revenue. Journals can be posted to impact the VAT return, but considerations need to be taken into the tax code and nominal code used. So again, we're wanting a tax code and a nominal code to be used that's going to be picked up on the VAT return. Otherwise, it's pointless. We're not notifying anybody but the program. And then finally, manual adjustments can be made direct to the VAT return, and these result in adjustment journals being posted, which are visible in the transactions list here, JC and JD. So there's the adjustments. So what I would do, hopefully that's answered all the questions when it comes to your VAT corrections. The handout is going to be available for you to download, and these links are going to be given to you as well on there. What I'm going to quickly do now, if I sound a little bit distracted, I'm just bringing up our webinar page so we can go through the schedule, which I know you're all very excited to do. So this is the schedule that we've got coming up. Obviously, this is the VAT proficiency badge. With simplifying corrections, this was number 7, so it's 5 of 7. And then tomorrow at 2 p.m., Michael and myself will be hosting the quiz, and then again Friday at 11 a.m. So you'll have 2 cracks of the whip. They're not different quizzes, they are the same quizzes, but we're catering for those who may not be able to attend, because remember, the quiz itself is mandatory in order to get that badge delivered. If you do miss any of these dates or the dates that have been so far, as you can see, we are repeating them from the 1st of July onwards. So there's several dates there for you in order to achieve this lovely VAT proficiency badge, which I've already seen on LinkedIn quite a lot from the last ones. So hopefully with the management reports badge, so hopefully the VAT proficiency badge is going to be just as popular on LinkedIn. We love seeing them on there. People showing them off, it's excellent. We've also got Get Started with Copilot tomorrow. That is on Thursday, 9th of June at 11 a.m. Other than that, we've hit on bang on 42 minutes. It's been one of the longest webinars that I've run. Usually they're around about 35, 40. So thank you very much for your patience today and your attendance. You will still get the standard survey, so let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Let us know any subjects that you want covered in the future. But hopefully we shall see you on Thursday. Good question from Leslie there, which was, can you do the quiz both on Thursday and Friday? You absolutely can do both. What you might want to do is do the one on Thursday, see what your score is, and then attempt it again on Friday and see if you can better and see it like a memory test, if so. So that's a good idea. But we'd love to see you all there. We hope to see you all there because we want to issue these badges out to you. But on that note, I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you very much indeed for your time. If you do need anything else at all today, please send an email in or leave us some feedback on the form and I'll get in touch with you. Have a wonderful evening, wonderful day. Speak soon. Bye for now.